Hello, folks. This is Bob, application engineer for Hilco Incorporated, and this is session number 4 for Codesys software programming. In the previous session, we went through some very basic moves, putting in a bit, putting in a timer, and then we did a function block with input and output enable, and we made it a multiply box. Now I want to talk about a few of the more advanced libraries or library functions that come with Codesys. If we go to the library manager and double click on that, we can add a library. These are the libraries that are built into Codesys. You can add your own. There are some available to you from the 3S website or the Codesys website. There are some that people have created and you can add, but in this one, this is the ones that are included in the software. So this first one, this is a function block that I use pretty regularly. I'm going to go to application and then to common, and then I'm going to pull up this util function block. Now that loads all of the functions that are in the util library into my manager, and it does things like it does some PID loops, it does some math functions, hex and ASCII functions, things like that. And now I'm going to go back to the software or back to my main task, and I'm going to add another rung or another network, if you will. So I'm going to insert network below. And this is a function block that I like to use, and it comes with the library because I wind up doing a lot of scaling or scaling an analog or scaling some numerical or word value. So again, I'm going to click on the question marks inside the box. I'm going to go to my lookup table, and I'm going to open my util library. Now, the particular one that I'm looking for, it is a mathematical function, and it's called lintrafo, or linear transformation, if you will. And basically, it is a scale block. And again, it's asking me to declare it as a certain name or a certain alias for my programming. And in my case, I'm just going to leave it at default. So I'm going to click outside the box. It says I want to declare this as lintrafo 0. Yes, I do. So I'm going to say OK. And again, the enable has a contact in front of it. So we're just going to delete that out. So now it's asking me for some inputs. Now, I don't have an analog input here, but I'm going to use this same function to use the same time value that I used for the above box, and I'm just going to click on it. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to paste it into my input. So now I have the ability to do something with this analog variable or with this word variable. Now, my input minimum, I simply say, in my case, my minimum would be 0, and my maximum is going to be some number. Okay, so if you're dealing with typical analog, maybe it's 65535, something like that. And I want to scale that to a readable number. So I want to scale that to something like 0 to, let's just say 100 for 100%. Now, again, I do not need to address this tab. I can take that out, and my output is going to be a value. So I could say this something like time scaled or something that makes sense to me in my program. And it's going to make it a real or a float, if you will. So now I have created a linear transformation that scales my value from 0 to 65535 to something scaled, in my case 0 to 100, but you don't have to. And it makes a linear scale of that value to show an output. I think that's a pretty handy one. Another one that I find myself using quite a bit, and again, I'm going to insert my empty box again. I'm going to highlight my question marks and do a lookup. This one's in the signals, and it's called blank. Blank's pretty simple and pretty self-explanatory. Basically, it's an on and off delay timer. So I want to enable that. So my bit, I'll go over here and pull one of my globals, and I'll pull my input 2 in and say, okay, when input 2 comes on, then I want to start blinking or turning a timer on and off. And you give it the same time values as you would a timer. So we'll do T # 500 milliseconds. And then I want it to actually be on a different time. So I'm going to say T #, I'll make it 1 second. So now, as every time this is just going to sit here and repeat, it's going to be off for 500 milliseconds, it's on for a second. That's a pretty handy function block as far as I'm concerned. So we just have to give that a name, and it is a Boolean output. It's just a bit, but this is a pretty handy function block. Now, again, we want to repeat here. We did our library manager. We searched for some new function blocks or some new things that are that's built into Codesys. So again, pretty handy. There's a lot of nice stuff in here. I challenge you to kind of look through the software, pick out some function blocks, import them into your program. This is a pretty nice feature, and it's a good benefit as you are trying to develop your program. Now, I will let you know that anything you import, you do have to load it each time you start a new project. And the reason for that is that we don't want to waste our processor space with a bunch of libraries that we're not going to use. So again, pretty handy. And again, thank you for your time.